Good morning, guys. I hope everybody's all right. So this morning, it's Monday, and I would like to talk about something that comes up certainly on first calls or clients that are inquiring for a first time is the actual buying process. Mike, what happens? How does it work if we buy a property? What's the procedure? It's a very common question to come up, and I think it's a question that needs to be covered before you even really look at starting at properties, because I think sometimes clients or investors, we kind of do it back to front sometimes, and I think sometimes we can do it back to front, and the first thing that we do is we start looking at properties, and which is obviously one of the reasons why people make inquiries, because they see a nice property on the website for $45,000, $50,000, and they make an inquiry. Oh, Mike, I want to buy this house. But there's a lot of questions that need answered before you even take that step. So I think, being very straight with you, I think looking at properties and which property that you want to buy is probably one of the last things that you need to do. And I think you need to answer a lot of questions first. Number one, are you comfortable with the process? Number two, where do you want to invest? Is it Cleveland? Is it Detroit? And number three, are you happy with us as a company to invest with? So I think that's a big question that you need to be happy with. So you need to be comfortable who you're going to buy the property from, and I think there has to be an element of trust involved as well. And then I think once all of those questions have been answered and you're comfortable with the process, comfortable with the management companies, comfortable with the way you're going to set it up in the US, comfortable with us as a company, we can find your property. And I'm not saying that finding a property is the easy bit, because it's certainly not, and we don't have to rush it either. But I think once you've answered all your questions and you say, okay, Mike, we're happy with everything, we've answered all of our questions, now we need to try and find a property. So I think that's my point, which is one of the reasons I wanted to talk about it this morning. Because I think sometimes when we send emails, it's, the emails that we send are great, but I think discussing it can help and make it easier to understand. So I just wanted to kind of talk you through the reservation process and what goes on from start to finish. And also after you close on the property, what happens, because we don't just leave you alone. We have an after sales department that helps with the handover to the management company, the insurance, etc. So obviously the first thing that we need to do, we need to identify a property. So once we've identified a property that you want to reserve, and you say, Mike, okay, we like this property, and we'd like to go ahead, I would then put you in touch, or not myself, let's say you're dealing with Barry or Scott or Gökhan in Turkey, or Marcella in South America, or Ian in Dubai. They would put you in touch with my PA. She's called Michelle, and Michelle would send you over a reservation document. So the reservation document would be sent via e-signature, so it's very easy to sign. You sign it on your phone, your tablet, or your computer, so it's easy enough to do. So you send that back. You would also be required to make two payments. The first payment is $2,000, which will be sent to the title company. So that money goes into an escrow account, and the escrow account is like the lawyer's account, and that reserves the property. You would also need to make our payment of $3,900, and that is the only money that gets paid outside of the closing. So that's the only money that's separate, which I'll come to in a bit, because I think that's really important. So once those two payments have been made, the reservation document's been signed, then that will be passed to John. So John is the managing director of the company, so he would then order the purchase contract with the seller and with the title company. So once we get the purchase contract, that needs to be signed by you first, and then it would be countersigned by the seller. Now, once we have a countersigned contract, if that's what you want to call it, we have 10 days then, as per the contract, to carry out a full independent inspection or survey on the property, which is really important. And I'm going to come to that in a little bit. So everything, the $2,000, the $3,900, the reservation that you sign, the contract that you sign, it's all subject to you being happy with the inspection. And if for whatever reason we don't like the inspection, we sit down and we look for another property, and that's at no cost to yourself. So the $2,000 and the $3,900 is simply transferred to the new property. So it doesn't happen a lot, but it can happen, and it's there as the buyer's protection. So we would never sign a contract that's binding unless we see an inspection. So everything is subject to the inspection. So once we're happy with the inspection, now in relation to the inspection, what does the inspection look for? The inspection looks for the main fundamental items in a property: the roof, the plumbing, the electrics, the foundation. We check for structural movement, so the bones of the property basically. And once we're happy with that the house is in good standing, we would also look and check for maintenance items, especially when we're dealing with a tenanted property. So, you know, like with any tenanted house, you're going to have people living in the property, and the property, the likelihood is there is going to be some things that need done. It might need a lick of paint, new carpet, etc., etc. But small items, you know, we're happy with the property's in good condition, but it might need, I don't know, maybe $2,000 or $3,000 spent on it. So at this point, this is where I come in, and I would negotiate with the seller on your behalf and say to the seller, listen, we're really happy with the property, you know, it's in good standing. However, the tenants look great, but we do think it does need a little bit of work, and could we either get the work done, or what's better for us is we would hold back the money. So for example, the property needs $3,000 or $4,000 worth of work done on it. So we would ask the seller, listen, when our client sends the funds, we're going to hold back $3,000 or $4,000 out of the proceeds. That would be held in escrow, and when we close on the property, that money then goes to our clients, our contractors, and it would be our contractors that then go in and do the work. So we prefer for our contractors to do it than the actual seller himself. So our guys go in, they do the work, and so the maintenance that is needed in the property is covered in the deal as well. So then once we've negotiated with the seller on that and he's happy to do that, then we would order the closing documents with the title company. So that can normally take anywhere between 3 to 5 days, because we obviously have to run title on the property, which is the title company's job. So they check for any debt on the property, any liens on the property, and they would make sure that where you get a warranty deed, which means there's no debt, and the title is clean, and any debts on the property will be paid out of the closing. So you get title insurance and a warranty deed, which is really important. So once we close on the property, so normally the whole process would take anything from, let's say, 30 to maybe 45 days. If you need it a little bit longer, we can work with the sellers. So if you said to me, Mike, my money is tied up at the minute, and potentially I might need 60 days, the maximum really normally would be around about 90 days, but normally it's 30 to 45 days for the completion, which is a lot quicker than, for example, here in the UK, where it can take up to sometimes 9 months to exchange on the property in the UK. So it's very quick in the US, which is great, you know. Once you close on the property, we have an after-sales department, which is run by a gentleman called Michael Noddins. So Michael or one of his team would be in touch with you, and they would basically help you get your ITIN number, which is like a social security number for a non-US resident. That's unless you're a domestic client and you already have a social security number. And Michael would also hand you over to the management company. And then the management company would take over the day-to-day running of the property from there. And the last thing that we would do as well is Michael would help you get your insurance set up as well. So the whole process, especially for first-time buyers, we kind of hold your hand from the start to the finish, and even after we've closed on the property, we're still there in the background if you need anything. And in fact, Michael and his team would touch base with you, I think it's for the first 2 or 3 months, just to make sure everything's going okay, the management contracts have been signed, your insurance is up and running, etc, 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 etc. And so we kind of keep on top of it and make sure everything is running smoothly for those first 2 or 3 months, and then it's down to you to liaise with the management company on a weekly or a monthly basis, you know. So that's kind of how it works, the process, the inspection, what we're looking for, and like I said, we kind of hold your hand through the whole process. So I hope that makes sense. So I hope you guys have a good day. We've got some very good inventory in Cleveland this week. I think we've got 3 or 4 really nice duplexes, and some great properties in Detroit as well. So you can see them on our website, Instagram, Facebook, or give us a call and we can send you our latest inventory. So I hope you have a great day, and I shall see you soon.